All right, well, hi, family. I like to say that. My name is Shai Williams. A little bit about me. I am a speaker, author, detective, philanthropist, army soldier. I'm just a person who just loves to give back and to inspire and uplift the urban youth, the urban mind, and the urban kingdom. That's what I'm all about, giving back and just uplifting our people. Well, I'll be honest with you. One, I wanted to challenge myself more so, but the big picture of it was that I wanted to get a message across to the urban youth, and it really came upon me when I was in Target, and I was looking for black books, African American books, and there weren't many. It was like two, and I wasn't even entertained by the two that I saw. So I was like, where are the books for our children? And that happened probably about 2 years before I wrote my book. So it was just like, okay, I want our youth, especially with my exposure being a detective in Camden, I want our youth to be able to open a book and be able to relate to it. See characters that look like them, that they can respond to, and they can say, oh well, I went through this. Because when a lot of kids in school, they read stories or read passages, they can't relate to it. It's boring. So I wanted to be able to have a literature that our people and our youth can relate to and be able to learn and build their literacy. You know, they're all connected. The truancy issue with students not going to school, the issue with kids getting in trouble, the issue with kids literacy being lower than their grade level, it's all connected. When children begin to act out and shut down because they're not connecting with the material or they're not grasping it. Because I know you get to a certain grade level, everything just accelerates. I believe it's like around that fourth or fifth grade where everything just begins to accelerate, especially the math. I have a little cousin and he's in fifth grade, and I just helped him get a tutor and change tutors actually because he wasn't being able to connect with the tutor and he wasn't getting it. So I got him another tutor. So I think they're all connected in my line of research, because when a kid's not grasping the information, they're going to try to find some way to cope with it. And unfortunately, their coping is, okay, well, let me get some attention on me. Let me act out. Like, oh, I don't want to do this, and pushing the material or calling things stupid and just trying to get in trouble to get out of class because they're embarrassed, or they can't believe that they're not getting the information. And sometimes they don't have that resource or that person who's under them saying, okay, well, you're not getting it, let me help you get it, let me find a way to get it. Because you have single parent households. I came from a single parent household, and by time mom or dad, whoever the parent is, work several jobs, go to school, maybe by the time they get home they're exhausted, they're overwhelmed, and they're trying to cope with paying bills and work multiple jobs. And unfortunately, sometimes they don't have that time or that energy. It's like when you work, some work 8, 16, 12-hour shifts and come home, all you want to do is relax, and it's a daunting cycle. Yes, definitely. My books are all based off of my exposure and my experience as a detective. Um, you have to, like I said, it's all about the connection, getting them to see it. So you have certain literacy that are within the curriculum of schools, and it's so far-fetched. Even and I'm a doctoral student, and sometimes, like me, I'm reading a passage and I find myself drifting. And here I am with multiple degrees and have all this experience. What do you expect from a child who has less than that? So we have to find a way. We have to be creative. I consider teachers, mentors, guidance counselors, we're all stakeholders of the kids' future. So we have to become creative. We can't sit here and say, okay, well, this is how my teaching was when I was a kid, or this is how my grandparents, my mother, things are constantly evolving, and we have to evolve with it. Well, I'll be honest, as a kid, you know, I wasn't that good in school. I didn't have the turnaround until I got to college. I'll be honest with that. So that's another reason why, me being a philanthropist and being in a community, urban community, and inspiring them, why it means so much more to me. My motto for my company, Shy Speaks, is stand on my shoulders. And I have that motto because I was once there. I can see my reflection in their eyes when I'm speaking to them. So I was not that good student until my back was against the wall. So I'll say that. But, as I got older, and even like in my years several before this, probably about 5 to 10 years before, I read I read several books, a lot of Black Power books and uplifting books, and learning about our history and our culture that has driven me to wanting to empower and inspire the youth in conjunction with my experience working in an urban community. So it's, you're smiling, but you know what I'm saying. So it proved to me that it was essential and that it was needed. So some of the books that I read, Brainwash, I forget who that's by, but Brainwash was a great book. Another book was by The New Jim Crow. Great book, New Jim Crow. There's another book out that I read. This title escapes me, and I forget the author. I believe it's called Black in the Police, or something along the lines. But it's talking about how the Black communities, how they respond to police officers, and the history of law enforcement in Black communities. And it also gives that history about how law enforcement was created, talking about slavery and how it kind of is similar to today time. Also, I read the biography of Malcolm X, also Assata Shakur. I love the autobiography by Assata Shakur. That for me was extremely life-changing. Okay, so I'm gonna answer this question, but I'm also gonna tell a story. There's a backstory to it. So I struggled with my writing, I would say, all the way up until my master's, mid-master's. I would get my papers back. This is even undergrad. I would get my papers back, and during this time, talk about how things have changed. I would get my papers back, and it would be marked with red marks all over. And I was at a Philly school, charter school, a couple weeks ago, and I told this story, and I was like, "Oh, do you guys still get red marks on your papers?" And the teacher said, "Oh, no, we do Word doc, like through Microsoft Word, and track changes." Like I just dated myself. So, I struggled with my writing all the way up until to the mid-masters, and then I started getting tutors. I had 2 tutors. I would go to the Writing Center. I went to Montclair State University. I would go to both of my tutors and do different sessions, and I would just work on improving my writing, because I was just tired of putting so much effort and work into my stuff, and I thought it was decent. I knew I struggled with it, but I wanted to change it, and I wanted to turn my weakness into a strength. And so I had to believe in myself. I had to put in the work. I had to do more than what was expected. So that's another reason. Like I tell the youth that you may struggle in an area, but it's on you. It begins and it ends with you. It's all on you believing and wanting to make that change. Like, I just keep telling them, like, you can just work on it, and believe in yourself that it can happen. If we really, you have to, in a sense, trick our mind that we can do anything that we put our mind to. One of my basketball coach from college, she told me that. And like I talked about my back being against the wall, I was on academic probation into my freshman year, beginning my sophomore year. And it was like, okay, I can't be a failure. I can't go back home. Like I'm the oldest of 5 kids. I have 4 younger brothers. And I just couldn't, I could not see myself failing. And failure was not an option for me. So it was like at that point, again, it begins with you. So I had to pick myself up. So I use all of that even in my writing. I use all of that when I'm talking to a kid, whether I stop them on the street or whether, I'm interacting with them at a workshop or a speaking engagement, because I want them to understand that, listen, I get it. I truly get it. I was once in your shoes. I wasn't always that A student. Now I am, because I understand that it's not truly about intelligence. It's all about your work ethic. And you think about what goes on in the urban community, the exposure that these kids and adults are exposed to and what we see on a daily basis. Man, we can take over this world. Truly, like we could really take over this world. Like they develop so much at a young age that their counterparts, the gap is so widespread. And we have to be able to learn that and see that as an opportunity for ourselves, that we have so much within us that we can excel. Shy Speaks is my speaking company, and I also, that's my profit side, and I also have Shy Speak Services, which is the nonprofit side, which I'm actually just now rolling out and getting things started with that. But that is going to entail tutoring sessions, just workshops, from learning about African American history to learning about stock, learning about just daily routines that children should know as they transition from high school into the real world, or just even middle school, because like I said, with our culture and our villages and kingdoms, you have some kids who are dealing with adult things, like helping out with the bills, who are going to working to help contribute to the bills around the house just to make things stable. So that's what the Shy Speak Services side, nonprofit side, is all about. So there's a nonprofit side and there's a profit side. But it's the companies were generated based off of my experience and my exposure as a detective in the city of Camden. But also, like, I always had a passion for being a philanthropist. I've always done outreach. As an athlete, we would put on clinics, basketball clinics for the middle school and elementary school, and I would just light up. And at that point in time, subconsciously, I just thought I was enjoying myself. And it wasn't until, I would say, end of my undergrad that I was like, okay, well, I want to do something. I want to see, where this passion takes me. So I started my foundation, Ann Lee Jones Foundation, which is in memory of my great grandmother. But it was pretty much like Shy Speaks is all about, just uplifting, inspiring the urban mind. Like I want their mind to grow. Like you can't, like a lot of us don't see daily success, so I want to expand their horizons. One of my friends, she has this quote that she always says, with exposure comes change. So their opportunities to see daily success is extremely limited. So if we expand their horizons and get them to thinking, don't fall into the trap. Okay, so I have a lot of family members who are in the Army, and most of my family members, I think I'm the only one that's National Guard on the reserve side. Everyone else is active duty or has been active duty. So honestly, it came up mid of my master's. It was like a turning point in my life, and I was studying to go to law school. That was one of my interests, or the interest. When I had graduated from college, I wanted to go to law school, and I was in the middle of my master's, and I was looking at my student loans. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to law school with $100,000+ on top of what I already have? I need an avenue to go down, like, 'cause this is not going to work. And I reached out to one of my cousins, who's no longer here now, but he walked me through the process, and he told me what to look for, how to make sure that I maneuver to get everything that I needed. But at first, like, I had to learn of the branches, and I wanted, at the time I had my foundation, I didn't want to go active duty because I had did so much stateside in the community, and I didn't want that to be taken away or to stop that. I did my research. I talked to my cousin, and he was telling me, like, you do not want to be in no daggone woods with no water, because my recruiter was trying to get me to do something with some water in the woods. And my cousin was like, listen, Sha, I know you. That's not you at all. That's not you at all, Miss Bougie Hot Body. That's not you. He's like, listen, you want to make sure that you get all your perks. You know, you have a degree. You want to make sure you get your bonus, all that stuff. So that's pretty much how it came up. Pretty much, but I ended up enjoying it. Like right now, I'm in officer candidate school to become a second lieutenant. So I look at it like this because I just re-up just to go through this process. It's bigger than me. You know, you think about it, I don't know the statistics, but I'm pretty sure there's not a lot of African American officers, especially women. You know, so for me, it's bigger than me. You know, my motto is stand on my shoulders, so it's just bigger than me. So I'm doing this, of course, for myself, but also for the community, and just to add to it. You know, when they see me and I tell them, like, you know, I'm a soldier, I'm in law enforcement, I do this, and they see my statues, like, how? You know, I get that a lot, like, no way. You know, after I see their reaction, I tell them, you too, as well. You know, see, when you hear me speak and you see me standing in front of you, see yourself, male or female, but just see yourself, because I've came from those neighborhoods, I've walked those paths that you're currently walking. Okay, so I've currently written three. Two are published, and the two that are published is part of my Proud and Black series.
Okay.
And the first one was Proud Black Girl,
Okay.
which is written to empower and inspire young girls to self-love, self-respect, and self-enrichment. So that was my first one. The second one is Proud Black Boy of the Proud and Black series, and that one, I love that book. I feel bad saying that one, but I love that book because one, I learned so much from my first book. It's written different, and it's to instill in the young boys to excel for academic success and excellence. It's into instilling them to love who you are. You know, when you look in the mirror, don't listen to the negativity of society. You know, that you can make something of yourself. And both books are, the Proud Black Girl is written based off of a connection between the mom and the daughter. And the Proud Black Boy is written off a connection between the father and the son. And what I love about the Proud Black Boy book is it's not just a book, it's also a workbook. And I made it that way where I asked a few questions about academics in schools and the subjects that they struggle with. Because within law enforcement, you see that, you know, you asked the question earlier about the literacy and the education. you see that we struggle with that, and that like they're not paying attention in school, you know, they're not getting the information, they're shutting down. And this book is trying to get them to identify what their struggles are and find out ways how to improve it. So that's what I love. That's part of the workbook of the Proud Black Boy. So it's a little different from Proud Black Girl, but both books are instilling in the youth to love who you are, embrace who you are, walk to your own beat. They're both are talking about pretty much being bullied. The Proud Black Girl, from her dark skin complexion and not being accepted and being teased by her friends, and then the Proud Black Boy, you know, moving to a different area, and people wanted to touch his hair and ask him, you know, how do you get your hair to stay like that? You know, what can I do? And realizing that it doesn't work for you, you know. So it's glorifying the black man and black woman, black boy, black girl, which you don't normally see. The current project, I'm actually toying around with it. I actually started over. I'll be honest with you, because the cover is so powerful, and I want like when you see the cover of it, it automatically makes you want to open it up. So I got to make sure that the material inside lives up to the cover. So just to give a little bit about what the cover entails, it's it's two schools on one street, and on one side of the on the one side of the school, it's like a grade school. You can it's characters. So it's like what am I looking for? Clip arts. So it's like clip arts. So it has one school, like a grade level school on one side, and a college. And on the one side with the grade school, you have a mixture of ethnicities, but predominantly black. But then on the other side, on the other institution is a college, and you have nicer grass. You have like convertibles and nice cars outside. You have people who are playing on the lawn. On the grade school side, you have the police outside the school, and across the street, more so on the grade school side, is a jail. It's a juvenile jail. It could be seen as a juvenile jail or just a jail, period. But you have, and amongst that is a gate around it, and in it has black and brown individuals, boys and girls. Then across the street from that, you have a corporate building, people who are in suits and ties, and nice cars. So it's a very powerful, and it's the message is a setback is a setup for success. And I want to make sure that I really drive home my point of inspiring and empowering the urban mind, that you can make it to that other side, you know. And it's not to say that the other side is correct, you know. Like I honestly, like I have a speaking engagement where I talk about the American dream, or like you identifying, you defining what your American dream is, because that quote unquote American dream is a nightmare, you know. In my honest opinion, it's a setup. It's a setup for frustration. It's a setup for failure too. You know, like you have to. I tell the kids, you identify what your American dream is. It's your path. It's not just one way. You know, success is different. Is different definitions. Is whatever you align it to be. So that's what the other project is about. And I want to use it towards, like I said, my mentoring program, the Shy Speak services. So I really want to take my time with this one. I really wanted to make it a masterpiece because that cover is so powerful. And I just want to make sure that that the material inside lives up to the cover.